Oh look, it's Instagram's favorite guitar brand. Let's talk about Kiesel from a non-influencer sponsored review. Kiesel seems to send a lot of guitars out to these hot and new influencers on the interweb. And even though they're not being paid to give a good review, let's be honest, when you're being sent a nice guitar with some nice upgrades on it, it's kind of hard for me to fully trust you as a man of the people, if you will. That is not to say that you're lying or that there's anything wrong with companies sending out guitars to influencers to do their marketing for them or even paying them to review them or to talk about the specs. But for my conspiratorial brain, I cannot trust that, and I want a totally unbiased review, and it's hard to find that, especially with Kiesel censoring comments on their own little community webs. It is no secret that they are known to delete and flat out ban long-term members of Kiesel forums and Kiesel Facebook pages for the slightest bit of negativity or criticism of their guitars. And I'm not just talking about the KDH video that we all know about, I'm talking about a lot of private messages that I have received from many guitar players that have helped me formulate this wonderful theory that I made on Strandberg and that we're now going to do on Kiesel guitars. We're going to examine in this video if Kiesel deserves their title as being one of the punching heavyweights of the modern guitar market, or are they just an influencer hype beast brand? And just like I did with my Strandberg, I think the best way to do this is to give a long-term review of my Kiesel and talk about the company in general as we go through this. Now you might be thinking that this is just another schizo-autist on the internet who's terminally online. What could possibly be my credentials and points of authority to speak on this matter? Well, for starters, you can just take one look at it and see that someone has been seriously playing this guitar. These marks don't happen on their own or come from the factory like that. I also used it on the recording for both of these Firelink albums. I've had a lot of messages from people sharing their experiences with Kiesel, and I've talked to a lot of people who are closely related to the Kiesel team or are actually on it. I'm also just a total nerd and a dork, and I take serious pride and attention to details in delivering the best information that I can to you guys. I'll also note that all of the music you hear in the background was recorded with this guitar. So let's get into it. This is my Kiesel AM7, that stands for Aries 7-string multiscale. It's not the A2 version. I bought this back in 2019 or 2020, sometime shortly before that whole thing happened, and I got it for around $1,900 after tax. And that gets us right into the first and most important thing that I want to deliver in this video, which is that if you are looking to spend around $1,800 to $2,100, there's possibly no better place to do it than Kiesel guitars. If you can contain yourself and resist getting all of the upgrades under the sun, you can get a guitar that is built by a custom shop by people who are building the $4,000 and $5,000 models with every upgrade that you can get. They are giving it the same love and quality and craftsmanship and execution on your guitar that only cost about $1,800 as those $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 K customs and whatevers. The same thing kind of holds true for PRS. This is the USA core model, but if you get the S2 line, which is about half the price of this and around $2,000, it is going to be built by the same people in the same Maryland factory who build these guitars. So you're still getting something that is beautifully crafted with the same love and affection as the more expensive models. You're just not getting some of the more gaudy anointments and top woods. And I'll also add that I think that the Ibanez Prestige line is another one that is a great competitor in that $2,000, give or take a couple hundred, price range. You should not spend $2,000 on this. And that is the biggest strength that Kiesel has, which is that you can get custom shop build quality and execution at high-end Gucci import guitar prices. Just contain yourself and don't overspend on the upgrades. This feels like the biggest secret advantage that Kiesel has that I don't really see a lot of people talking about. And again, I'm not talking about John Dreddo's Kiesels. Those do not cost $1,800. Those cost quite a bit more. I'm talking about this thing, which the only upgrade and cost to this was the red dots and then the antique shop and the antique swamp ash treatment to this guitar. Oh my God. So that should go ahead and spoil that the build quality on this guitar is perfect. The fretwork is immaculate. The tuning stability is flawless. I never even have to tighten the output jack ring. And once you get it set up, it's going to hold that for years upon years. And I live in Georgia, which is an extremely crappy place to own guitars because of the humidity and the constant seasonal changes that occur bi-weekly. Okay, so here's the part where I can give you a review of this guitar and break it down spec by spec, but that would be kind of pointless because you're going to pick your own specs on there. I'm here to tell you that if you find specs that you like, you are going to be happy with it. They're going to build it exactly as you want it. However, I am also here to warn you to make sure that you pick the correct specs, especially being mindful of the weight of these guitars, especially Kiesel's Swamp Ash, because their Swamp Ash is extraordinarily light. And believe it or not, there's actually really heavy pieces of Swamp Ash out there. Like that PRS SE up there, that is a Swamp Ash body, and that guitar is heavier than my H string. I got the Swamp Ash under the premises of getting wanting a light guitar that is comfortable to hold. But the problem is that the headstock feels like it is a heavy piece of swamp ash, or the locking tuners that Kiesel uses must be extraordinarily heavy because this guitar will neck dive in classical position, as I have illustrated in all of these videos and will illustrate again right here. Before you leave a comment telling me how to solve the neck dive or complaining about what I did or didn't do, just hear me out. I'm gonna go through everything, but let's start with this. This is in regular cowboy position. Really bad neck dive. Let's do it with a prop now. I have one right here. Even if you use the prop, it still neck dives. See what I'm saying? Still neck dives. If it doesn't do that, then it'll, yep, you see what I mean? All right, let's put it in classical position now. Let's put it like this. Oh, look, it'll neck dive. Oh, look, it'll neck dive. It's because of those bevels on the back, which I forgot to mention earlier, but look at the contouring and the bevels on this thing. It's really thin right there, so if you have a bad weight distribution, it's going to be extremely exaggerated. Now let's put a strap on. I also think it's unfair to tell someone that they should have to play with the strap or that they should have to play standing up, especially if there's someone like me who plays on average 2 to 5 hours a day, sometimes 6 to 8. And that's not to be bragging, that's the truth. And I don't want to play all of that standing up. That sounds kind of stupid. Okay, with the strap on, we're presented with a new problem. Do you see how much it bows out and kicks like that? It is neck diving still, but it's also just kicking like that, so you are constantly having to apply pressure like this to try to get the guitar to come back in front of you like that. And it's the same thing with the prop. It doesn't really help at all. Just put wheel weights in there. Okay, I don't really want to cut into my guitar and put wheel weights in there, and there's not enough room in the cavity, or at least I don't feel like there is. I don't feel comfortable doing that. I also shouldn't have to. At least not in my opinion. I think that when you're buying a guitar this expensive, it should be good to go where you don't have to do excessive modifications, which brings me to another one, which is that people tell me that you should have to change the locking tuners to a lighter weight one. Like, these are Grover tuners. These are Kiesel branded Grover tuners, I believe. I like to play guitar. I don't really like to fix them. This isn't me bitching a fit over something that I'm too stubborn to fix. I'm just telling you guys the truth that a lot of these things probably wouldn't make a difference because it's not just the neck dive, it's coupled with this body shape. Okay, one more thing and then you can leave your comment about why I'm wrong and stupid and why it's my fault. You're the one who placed the specs. Why are you complaining? You're the guy who ordered it. Well, you're right about that, but I didn't know that it was going to be quite this lightweight and unbalanced. There was no mention of this. No one has any comments about it because Kiesel would just block them if they did anyway. And come to find out, it turns out that a lot of people have actually experienced this that I have found in obscure comments on very small channels doing reviews that get less than 1,000 views. So they know about it, and they also know about weight issues enough to make it where if you get a walnut neck or if you get like a black limba body, it'll pop up on the screen that this is a heavy body wood. We just want to let you know that we can't guarantee that the weight is going to be perfect, blah, blah, blah. So they know about weight issues. So I'm willing to accept responsibility for it, but I also think that Kiesel knows about this. And again, it is not a conspiracy or a criticism against the company. It is just an objective fact that they delete comments and block people who are critical or even mention anything slightly negative about their guitars like I did right there. So of course you would never hear about this. And then everyone else out there who does a review of a Kiesel was sent one that has all these sick ass specs in there included and yada yada yada. Again, this is not to criticize Kiesel or to call them a cult like I did in this video. It's to say that they're really well built, but just be careful about the specs. Really try to do your research. Really try to ask people in direct messages as opposed to the Kiesel forums like I did. Look for reviews from other 6-8 gigachads like myself and you. One final thing, Cupcake. Why didn't I review the pickups? Why didn't I give you a tone demo? Well, for starters, Kiesel has done a tone demo comparison of all their pickups that is going to be infinitely better than anything that I could come up with here. But second of all is that I'm going to go ahead and just say that in general, Kiesel pickups are kind of known for being not that great. The Allen Holdsworth one seems to hold a unique place in people's hearts as being the best all around, even for the high gain metal stuff. However, their lithiums and their other ones out there are generally mixed reviews, and usually what I see is more mid-rated. I have the lithium set in my guitar, and in general, they get the job done, but sometimes they have this weird clank that sounds almost like a single coil or PAF when I'm playing on the Forden suite or even on Archetype Nolly, under high gain of course. But there are some nice features about this, which is if you go to position 2, that is the bridge split coil, which sounds absolutely incredible under clean guitars, as you can hear right here. And because it's a 5-way selector, like I said, you also get a position 4, which is a split inner coils, which you can hear right here. And every other guitar that you hear on this Firelink song called Kendall was recorded with this guitar in drop A tuning, and 4 out of the 5 songs on our self-titled album were also recorded with this guitar in the same tuning. So they can definitely get the job done. I think that they sound great. And to save you the mental torture of watching another Spectre sound studio and hearing Glenn Fricker talk about pickups again, I am going to go ahead and tell you that pickups give you a good starting place out of the gate, and they can affect the dynamics on your picking hand and your responsiveness to it, which all plays in part to your starting position, which can be beneficial. Just because you can EQ everything and just because it's mostly in the cabinet or the IR doesn't mean that pickups don't matter. So that's my take. All in all, I really want to try another Kiesel because I feel like my experience has been soured by this horrible neck dive. Again, you can tell that I made it work. I recorded albums with it. I played this guitar for about 6 years, but it wasn't until I got this BC Rich 8-string right here that I've kind of retired my 7-string Kiesel because I just play in drop A on this now, and frankly, this guitar balances so much better. I mean, just look at that. It's fine. It's not neck diving. It's beautiful. It's falling back into me, but don't be so judgmental. But I think that I'm being pretty fair when I tell you that you still should try a Kiesel. Just be extra certain that you are picking the correct specs, and I highly encourage you to look at getting a different set of pickups and just sending it to the guys and telling them to install it with whatever kind of wiring you desire. I think that that's going to be your best bet, and try to look for, more obscure reviews and DM people who are not sponsored by Kiesel. Again, this is not to say that they are lying or that Kiesel is just some internet hypebeast company. To answer that original question, yes, they are, but they also deserve it. So I think that that's a very fair thing to say. You can get a Kiesel custom guitar even when you upgrade things and do all the fancy top woods and all the cool option 50 things. You're still going to get an amazing, well-built custom guitar at a price that's comparable to like Fender custom shops or Gibsons or Jacksons. Honestly, those are all way more expensive, especially Jackson. Holy shit, yeah, getting a custom shop Jackson built to the same specs of a Kiesel would probably triple the cost. All right, dudes, I'm out. Like and subscribe because I've got lots more planned for this channel. We're gonna go to the moon, baby. Right now, y'all are early to the empire. Let's go.
No, look at the sleeping little Electra.